Chicken and rice is one of the most common and iconic food combinations in the entire world. Everyone has their own spin on it, and today I'm sharing with you 4 easy Instant Pot chicken and rice dishes your whole family will love. Hey, I'm Lisa Childs here from TriedTestedAndTrue.com, where I share with you Instant Pot inspirations and ways to feel confident using your Instant Pot. So if you're new here, consider subscribing right now, and let's get on with the first recipe. The first recipe we're doing today is teriyaki chicken rice bowls with tons of vegetables. Everyone is going to love them in your family. So the first thing we do is just season our chicken tenderloins. I'm using 4 chicken tenderloins, but I would account for about 2 to 3 per person, depending on how big of a serving size you want to do. I'm going to season these with a little bit of garlic salt, or you can also do salt and garlic powder, some pepper, and some ginger. Flip them over and do the exact same thing on the other side. And today we are using chicken tenderloins for all of these recipes. They're incredibly tender. They're really easy to cook because they cook really quickly, and so I like using that. But if you want to use chicken breasts or chicken thighs, any of those will work. So first, put your Instant Pot on high saute and then add about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. When the Instant Pot is hot and the oil is nice and glistening and shiny, then we can add in our seasoned chicken tenderloins. If you want to use a different kind of chicken, like a chicken breast or chicken thigh, just make sure that you cook it a little bit longer. But for the best, most consistent results, I would use the chicken tenderloins like we've used in the recipe today. I like to sear the chicken tenderloins. You're not cooking them through all the way, but I like to sear them on each side so that they can get a little bit of extra flavor. This step is completely optional if you don't have the time, but I highly recommend it because you want to add another layer of flavor to your chicken teriyaki rice bowls, and this will do that for you. After the chicken has seared on that other side, take out the chicken and just put them on a reserved plate. You'll notice all these yummy browned bits at the bottom of the pot. That's called fond, and you want that because it's all that amazing flavor. However, you want to deglaze your pot with 1.5 cups of water or chicken broth so it doesn't stick and burn onto your Instant Pot. So add in that liquid and then use a spatula or a wooden spoon and scrape all those brown bits off the bottom of the pot. Otherwise, you might get the burn notice. Next, add 1 cup of rice. Here I'm using long grain white rice, but you can also use jasmine rice or basmati rice, and you can see that recipe and video right here. So after you kind of stir in your rice, then we are going to just add our chicken tenderloins right back on top of that rice and broth or water. And then I'm going to add 1/2 cup of teriyaki sauce. You don't want to mix this because we don't want all that sugar getting mixed into the water too much, and so just add that chicken teriyaki marinade right over the top. You can either make your own, or I just use a store-bought version. Close the lid, turn the knob to sealing, and then press the manual or pressure cook button and adjust to 5 minutes with a 10-minute natural pressure release. If you use a different kind of chicken, you'll probably have to cook it a little bit longer. However, you want to cook any chicken into a smaller, manageable size because if you cook the rice too long, it will be really soggy. After the chicken and the rice are done, just open up that lid and then quickly add 3 to 4 cups of frozen vegetables. I like using this stir-fry mix because it has a lot of really yummy vegetables that you find in a chicken teriyaki rice bowl, and it's frozen, so it's even easier. So add in the frozen vegetables and then give it a quick stir just to kind of toss in all those frozen vegetables into the hot chicken and rice, and then put the lid back onto the Instant Pot and then let it sit for about 5 minutes. The vegetables are already cooked, and so what you want to do is just steam them through and make sure that they're nice and warm, but we don't want to pressure cook with the vegetables, otherwise they will be a soggy mess. And that's it. All you have to do is just scoop it into a bowl, and if you want, you can add some extra teriyaki sauce and some sesame seeds for some garnish, and that is a super easy, healthy, delicious meal that you can make for your family in less than 30 minutes. The next dish I'm sharing with you is Cajun sausage and rice. This dish is super smoky and meaty and spicy and colorful. It's really going to be something that you make all the time. So to start out, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a hot Instant Pot, and then we are going to saute some Cajun sausage. So I ordered Cajun chicken sausage in my grocery order, but they accidentally gave me pork, Cajun sausage, totally fine, it all works, right? You'll still count this as a chicken and rice recipe. So I like to just cut the sausage on the diagonal, on a bias, which is cut diagonally, and then we're going to saute that in the hot olive oil for just a couple of minutes. And then we're also going to add in our pretty vegetables. So I like to add 1 whole red bell pepper, 1 whole yellow bell pepper, and then 3/4 of a cup of chopped celery. If you want, you can also add half of an onion, either a yellow onion or a red onion. Both of those would be great in this dish. Mix that up and let it saute for just a minute while we put together our seasoning blend. So in this little bowl, I have 1 tablespoon of dried onion flakes, 3 teaspoons of Cajun seasoning, just use your favorite kind, but if it's really spicy, maybe do just 1.5 or 2 teaspoons to start out, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of oregano, and then we're just gonna shake this all up and dump it into our sausage and veggie mixture. After that, add 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and then we're just going to let this saute for just a couple minutes. After the sausage and veggies have sauteed for a couple minutes and they have a little bit of brown on them, we're going to deglaze the pot with 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1/2 cup of water, and 1 cup of chicken broth. We're also adding 1 cup of long grain white rice, and then just stir this all up. Make sure that there's nothing stuck on the bottom of the pot, otherwise it will get really burned and you don't want that. So scrape all that yummy flavor off the bottom of the pot, make sure the rice is submerged, and then we're ready to cook our Cajun sausage and rice. Lock the lid onto your Instant Pot, turn the knob from venting to sealing, and then cook on manual high pressure for 5 minutes with a 10-minute natural pressure release. This dish is really easy to make, it's spicy, it's saucy, it's really delicious, and I know you're going to enjoy it with your families, so tell me if you make this in the comments below. The next recipe we're going to do today is a lemony garlic chicken and rice. This dish is loved by everyone. Both of my kids had 2 servings each, so you know that it's a good one. First, press the saute button on your Instant Pot and get it nice and hot, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic butter. If you don't have garlic butter on hand, you can always use some garlic powder with some salt and some other seasonings in there, and that will work just fine. To the melted garlic butter, we are going to add 1 cup of long grain white rice, and then we're going to saute it to make a rice pilaf. We want to just make sure that the rice is nice and nutty and browned. It's so good, it kind of absorbs all that delicious flavor, and then that's really it. We're going to add in 1/2 pound to 1 pound of chicken tenderloins and then just mix that all up and make sure that there's not any rice sticking to the bottom of the pot. After you add the chicken tenderloins into the rice and you just kind of mix that up a little bit, we're going to add a little bit more seasoning. So I like using this delicious lemon pepper. It is so good. It's the best lemon pepper I've ever used. I'll link this below. And then we're also going to add about 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of dried oregano. After a couple minutes, all you need to do is deglaze the pot with 1 cup of chicken broth. And then I'm also going to add the juice of 1 lemon, which is about 1/4 cup, but if you have more, that's totally fine. And then 1/2 cup of some Olive Garden dressing. After everything is in the pot, I like to top it with a couple of lemon slices for some presentation and flavor, and then we're ready to pressure cook. So just put the lid on your Instant Pot, turn the knob from venting to sealing, and then cook for 5 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. If you want to add even more flavor to this dish, you can saute the chicken tenderloins with a little bit of lemon pepper and garlic powder seasoning in that garlic butter at first, and then take them out, and then you cook the rice with a little bit more garlic butter, just so that every layer has a little bit more flavor. But this dish is super easy because you can just throw everything together. You don't really have to even saute for very long, and it's ready to go in 30 minutes or less. So after the lemon garlic chicken has rested for 10 minutes with a natural pressure release, just open up that lid and then you're ready to eat. You can add more Olive Garden dressing if you want a little bit more kick. If you want to add a little bit more lemon zest or lemon juice, that's really good as well. And this dish goes really well with some steamed broccoli, steamed asparagus, any green vegetable. It's so fresh and bright and buttery and garlicky. You're gonna love it. The last dish I'm sharing with you today was inspired by my college roommate Jalen, who made this. She called it chicken spaghetti, but today we're making chicken and rice, but it's kind of a Ritz chicken casserole, and it's so creamy, it's crunchy, you're really going to devour it. First, I'm going to press the saute button on my Instant Pot and then add 2 tablespoons of butter. We want to just make sure that's nice and melted and hot before we add in our chicken. And in the meantime, we're going to season our chicken tenderloins. Here I'm using half a pound of chicken tenderloins. You can use up to a pound. And I'm going to season it with a little bit of garlic salt, pepper, and parsley. Flip them over and season them on the other side so then there's flavor all around. And then we're going to saute them in the Instant Pot to get them nice and browned on both sides. This step is optional, but it does add a ton of really good flavor to the finished dish, and so I do recommend it. If you don't have time for it though, just throw everything in the Instant Pot and you're totally fine. When you're sauteing the chicken, make sure you don't touch it. So don't mess with it and keep moving it and keep flipping it. You only want to flip it one time. You want to get that nice brown crispy sear on each side. After the chicken is done browning on both sides, remove them to a plate. You don't need to cook them all the way, you're just getting them browned. And then after you remove the chicken, add 1 1/4 cup of chicken broth to the pot to deglaze the bottom of the pot. You want to also add 1 cup of long grain white rice. You can also use jasmine or basmati rice, and scrape off the bottom of that pot. You don't want any of those brown bits stuck on there, otherwise your Instant Pot might burn. This is seriously so easy. So now you just put the chicken tenderloins back on top of the rice, and that's it. Make sure you add in any of those juices that may have come out of the chicken while it was resting. Pour them in there because that's all flavor and you really want that. And then add the lid back onto your Instant Pot. Turn the knob from venting to sealing, and then we're going to cook this for 5 minutes with a 10-minute natural pressure release. At this point, you want to kind of decide what you're going to do. If you have an air fryer lid, then that's great. If not, you'll want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees and get a casserole dish out, because you'll want to transfer your creamy Ritz chicken into the casserole dish to get nice and crispy with this yummy buttery Ritz topping that we're making now. So I'm just going to take 1 sleeve of Ritz crackers. If you don't have Ritz, you can also use saltines, you could use some cornflake cereal, you could use panko, breadcrumbs, anything like that. But this is Ritz chicken, so we really want that yummy, fattening, buttery cookie or cracker. And we're going to just crunch up all those Ritz crackers in the sleeve itself and dump them into 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Toss that up to make sure all of those cracker bits get nice and submerged in that yummy butter. And then we're going to pour this all over our Ritz chicken before we bake it. So I told you before that this is inspired by my roommate, my college roommate. We were 18. This was like our fancy meal that we made for friends or boys that came over. And so I have a very nostalgic feeling about this recipe. And it's fun because I've converted it into a rice recipe. But like I said, you can make this with spaghetti noodles or any other kind of noodle. It would be just as good. So after the 10-minute natural pressure release, just remove that lid. And then I like to remove the chicken tenderloins away from the rice, so then it kind of stays a little bit prettier, but you don't have to if you don't want to, because now we're going to add in the rest of the chicken and rice casserole ingredients. So like I said, I'm removing the chicken tenderloins here, and then we are going to add 1 can of cream of chicken soup. You kind of want to work fast right now because you want to keep everything hot in the pot. So make sure that your Instant Pot is on keep warm mode so then it can heat through the soup and the next ingredient, which is 1 cup of sour cream into the rice, and just mix that all up to make sure it gets warmed up. At this point, you can also add some shredded cheddar cheese. That would be really delicious, but I like mine just plain like this. So add in the soup, add in the sour cream, and mix it all up and keep it warm. Once you're done with that, add the chicken tenderloins back on top of that creamy rice casserole, and then add our crushed Ritz crackers on top. This makes a really yummy buttery topping, and it's so good. It's like the iconic kind of American casserole. So I'm setting my air fryer lid that I have here to 350 degrees, and we're gonna set it at 10 minutes and just kind of check and see. I'm pretty sure this was done in about 3 to 5 minutes. It didn't take very long at all. So you can see it's really nice and brown and crisp. It looks perfect. If you don't have an air fryer lid, all you have to do is just transfer that rice mixture into a greased casserole dish, and then you can put your chicken and Ritz crackers on top of that, and then bake in the oven at 350 for about 15 to 30 minutes until it's nice and brown and crispy and golden on top. This is the completed dish. It's so indulgent and creamy and crunchy, and it really just reminds me of like childhood, because that's what I was when I was a freshman in college. It's so fun, and I know that everyone in your family will enjoy this, especially the kids. You can also add some additional cheese to this recipe. It would be really delicious. But there you have it, 4 easy chicken and rice dishes you can make in the Instant Pot. Most of these have very little steps, and it's so good. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next week. Bye.